as many people as possible. It's not an us and them, it's all about baking a bigger pie. Could you talk about some of the initiatives, particularly Erasmus and the PwC Sandbox, and then I'll talk about the Ateneo initiative also.
Sure. Good point, Amor. FinTech Philippines is not a club. It is an advocacy. It's a movement. So if you really want to bring mass adoption to the market, a lot of people need to be educated. So we're partnering with the EU Erasmus program. The idea here is to support universities, particularly St. Louis, Baguio, Mapua, and University of Cebu, in developing FinTech courses in their curriculum. The other one is with the support of the Prosperity Fund from the UK. We will actually be working on an industry sandbox. The industry sandbox allows FinTech players, startups, or established players to collaborate, to test their products and services at scale, in a safe and controlled environment. This will allow innovative products to shine because right now it's tough really for a startup to establish relationships bilaterally with partners. So with that sandbox, a FinTech player should be able to test their products, find the right partners, go to market at a faster rate, hopefully hit the market with
So is
better
that
services.
like open dating as opposed to exclusive dating?
Let's just say that's Tinder for FinTechs.
Tinder. Yes, thank you. And also, by the way, we are also running come January of 2020 with the Ateneo Professional Schools, the first FinTech program in the country. Because most of the courses that we see are online and actually overseas. But really the funny thing is, we are the hub and spoke. It's actually happening here in the country. So there's really no need to go online or to go overseas to learn about FinTech because it's in the Philippines where it's truly happening. Now you touched on something very important, which is the relationship of the industry and leveraging on best practices with the best and brightest all over the region, right? Edison, we'd like to hear from you, your experience as a regional player that has since decided to domicile himself here in the Philippines, and what is the unique regulatory and business environment in the Philippines that make it special for FinTechs to thrive?
Well, as a foreigner that has been living here for more than 2 decades, and a regional player in Southeast Asia, one of the things that we are noticing is that the regulatory environment of the Philippines is actually catching up with the rest of the world. Countries like Singapore, where we are mainly based in, actually leads the way in terms of how other countries can also adapt to FinTech, and as well as companies who are trying to level up and tech up their infrastructure, their regulatory requirements. So, like for example, like in Singapore, it is being led by the MAS, and that's the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And of course, in the Philippines, it's led by BSP and SEC. So, some of the things that we are noticing in the countries that we are present in, whether it's Singapore, Taiwan, where I'm from, Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia, these are each country presents a unique challenge and scenario for the FinTech players who want to operate in those countries. So whether it be e-payment or remittance or e-commerce or crowdfunding or lending, each of these verticals have to adhere to the local regulatory, and of course, as I always tell Amor, that every company or each of the player in these countries can go as far as where the law takes them. So one of the key drive for FinTech Philippines Association is for us to go hand in hand with the regulatory bodies of the Philippines to drive the advancement and technological advancement of these players. So I think that's where we as a regional players come.
Now, you mentioned something about working with the regulatory bodies, but it's not just the local regulatory bodies that we are in constant coordination and benchmarking with. In behalf of our chairman, the chairman of FinTech Philippines Association is Dr. Tito Ortiz of Union Bank, who unfortunately could not be with us today. It is through his intercession and the work of Dr. Ortiz that we have actually signed up in AFIN. So we are, as FPA, the carrier of the official relationship for and in behalf of the Philippines and AFIN. Now we have here Ms. Erica Dizon from Union Bank, because one of these super exciting projects that we want to do for all the fintechs here is to get you on the Netflix of APIs, right? Sorry, I'm excited about it, right? Well, guys, you're supposed to be APIs, right? I don't think these people are actually fintechs or technology people, because they gave me a deer in the headlights look when I said APIs. But Erica, please tell us why this initiative, which is the coming together of all the Philippine-based APIs and connecting them to the best of the region, through Union Bank and the collaboration with FinTech Philippines Association, is what's keeping you up at night.
So it's keeping me up at night because I want to encourage more and more companies, more and more SMEs that have APIs to get on board. So for everyone here, API means Application Program Interface. So what it does is that it allows computers to talk to one another efficiently, removing manual processes and making it automated. So that's part of digitization and how the environment is moving forward.
So Net, you can't tech up and you can't say you're digital or going digital if you don't have that, right? So it's as simple as that. It's the keys to the kingdom of everyone else's kingdom.
Correct, that's true. So each company has their own API, and what we're trying to do is to come up with, well, there is that platform already, and we encourage everyone to be on that platform. So what it does is that it gives everyone the opportunity, the chance, the exposure to be out there in the region and to show what you have. So by doing so, you're enabling not only your own company by your API, but you're also enabling the fintechs here in the Philippines. And of course, you'll have the support of the Philippine FinTech Association all throughout. So this is what is keeping me up at night, because I want to encourage everyone to get on this program now. It's a good opportunity for everyone, and of course, with the help of the FinTech Association, will help you and guide you through every step of the way.
Great. So could you share a bit more about the MAS API project that's currently ongoing?
Okay, so the current MAS project for APIs is that they're trying to put various players, various countries onto this platform. So each country has their own set of fintechs. So each fintech wants to get onto that platform. So basically what the MAS is doing is to ensure that in Singapore as a regional hub, more and more people, more and more fintechs get on board so that we can show each other and have that type of interoperability, right? So that's the key to what we need right now in terms of digitization and actually digitizing each other.
So if you'd like to be part of a team that carries the banner for the Philippines during Singapore FinTech Festival, and if you're a fintech who wants to be able to connect to the rest of the regional market, please be a member of FinTech Philippines Association and we'll find a way to get you in there. Now, I think what's also, oh, by the way, start thinking about your questions because we're going to be going around and asking you guys questions for the rest of the panel. Interesting that Erica talked about the importance of empowering businesses, especially entrepreneurs, with the power to unlock the region through their APIs. The MAS's priority area for this year, they were actually here recently, we helped set a meeting with the DTI with them, is the empowerment of entrepreneurs all over the region. And so that's why we're proud to be partnering with the DICT, the DTI, and the DOST during the November 18 to 22 Startup Week. So the one day of the DICT, we will be working very closely with them, and it will be a FinTech Philippines Association Day. So please reach out to us if you'd like to also empower and connect with more entrepreneurs here in the country. Now here's the thing. It's easy to get into technology. It's easy to make the tech. It's easy to make money when you have the right tech. The problem is all about trust. It's all about being able to do the right thing. Now we have here Ms. Edith Yongson, who's a champion of good governance. And could you share with us, Ida, the efforts that you have in terms of empowering more technology companies through good governance, and the first ever partnership that was signed with by ICD was with FinTech Philippines Association. You want to talk about that?
Yes, thank you, Amor. As a bit of a background, I'm actually a banker, or was a banker, but I still consider myself a banker. I was with National Australia Bank for several years, then Philippine National Bank. I headed actually business loans there. So I kind of think like you guys as well. And by the way, I was teaching Ateneo entrepreneurship and that sort of thing. So guiding businesses is really my forte. So having said that, incidentally, I did postgraduate in Terrapin. I did blockchain, digital transformation, and crypto. I got involved with coin offering at one stage, and I'm also sitting as the director of a Singaporean FinTech platform. So having said that, back to the governance part of this, when it comes to businesses, there's a need to put trust in there, as mentioned by Amor, but let me just ask a question from the audience. How many here has got wallets or bank app in your cell phone? How many? Nearly everyone. Now, how many business people here are already into FinTech industry? So there's a few. Now, okay, I'm going to talk about business first. And when it comes to business, I call it an FPA, FinTech Philippines Association, but at the same time, it's F, do follow regulations, and we do have a lot of regulations at hand at the moment. And it's a bit of a pity if you are not following, because like the SEC at the moment, they're cramming them down. But rest assured, these regulations are not there to restrict. In the absence of a regulation, we do have SEC and Banco Central that they are open to a sandbox approach. What does that mean? It's a test and learn. And we at FinTech, in case you do have problems with that, we hope we can help you guide how to do the sandbox approach. F, P, for everyone, passwords. Passwords, make your passwords complicated and not your life. The last, A, accountability. Accountability, we're talking about embedding values. And this is where we're talking about fraud. Fraud can happen. You have a wallet, you lose your wallet and your password is easy. So we need to learn more on cybersecurity. We need to learn more on how to, is there an insurance if your money gets stolen in your wallet? I know with the bank there's PDIC, but what about your wallet? GCash had just started having insurance for all those theft. Not that I'm plugging GCash, but that's something that we're gearing towards as well. Back to accountability. In your businesses, there's a high probability that fraud can happen. To actually, not so much as eradicate, but mitigate, you need to take out one of the factors. There's an ROP, rationalization, opportunity, and pressure. If you take out the rationalization, and how do you take it out? Embed good values in your people. And those are factors of good governance. Thank you.
Right, so I know that the idea of good governance and technology might seem anathema because, you know, we in technology actually thrive on risks, and governance, on the other hand, seem like it's all about telling you what not to do. But one of the key things that we're going to be pioneering in the association is not to make one conform to the standards of the other. It's more of, we need to create a halfway base wherein there will be regulations that are created by the technologists that are acceptable and more realistic to their scenarios. So that's something that we're doing with our partnership with the Institute of Corporate Directors, of which we signed in our last mixer, not in our last mixer. Okay, I know that you guys have questions, but before we move on, Cheryl, I think we should have a mic to go around. Oh, they're already bringing a mic around. I'd like to go back to Mark, right? In terms of what are some of the challenges that you anticipate in the coming years, and what can we do about it as an industry together?
From my personal perspective, I want to see more applications, everything you do in daily life have banking or wallets, whatever, embedded inside. So it gives you more reason to use.
So it has to be seamless.
Yeah,
That's what
it
you're
has to be
saying.
seamless, yeah.
So regardless of whatever industry you're in,
Yeah.
there has to be a payment component
Yeah,
seamlessly embedded.
Yeah, anything you use, rather than going to a separate app just to do payments, then it should be embedded in whatever you're doing. So I see that as a growth all around the world. If you look at the States, that's what's happening over there. China, it's yeah, well, they actually build the apps, the banking apps, rather than the wallet apps, and then they build all the other technology into the app. It's a bit harder to do here or anywhere else. So I just see the future as building apps with banking or wallets embedded. And one of the challenges will be over the next few years is to make that interoperable, so you can actually move the money around. It doesn't matter who it's with. You want to be able to transfer that money from one operator to another without even thinking about it. I think that's one of the things that Union Bank wants to do, which is why the APIs are so important.
You know, Mark, and since many of the technologists and the startups here would love to hear from you, at what level, right? At what level of maturity would you decide, or would you as a VC decide to start supporting startups? What are you looking out for?
Me as an investor, angel investor, I look for right at the beginning the ideas that I can now help them build the tech for it.
So it starts with the idea, and then you.
Yeah, it used to be that I look for ideas with traction and making money. Now I'm looking for people that have really good ideas. They validated some of their ideas with the public to say it could make money. It's like people are willing to pay for it, and so I want to help build the tech behind it. And part of that is building the wallet into everything that we build.
Build the idea, and let me give you 3 ideas to make money. If you want to make money, move people, and move minds. If you invest in those 3 things, I think Mark would love to talk to you. Erica, from a very distinctive position of seeing developments from all over the region, what do you think would be the top trends for fintechs this coming year in 2020?
Okay, so for the top trends for 2020, particularly for fintechs, so last year, just to give you a tidbit, the Philippines received 5 billion worth of investments into the Philippines only for the fintech space. So for 2020, we're seeing that this number will continue to grow as more and more investors and venture capitalists are coming over. So just to add, Union Bank also has an entity called UBX, and we also put investments in certain fintechs. And just to add to Mark's question, what we do is that we look for certain synergies to the bank. That's the one thing. If your company has a particular product that creates added value to what a bank is already servicing. So there's going to be more of those things coming in 2020. Another trend that we're seeing for the coming year is that more and more fintechs are in the payment space and in the alternative lending space. So in the Philippines, those are the 2 biggest factions or categories for fintechs, and we see more of that. So the reason is, obviously, a lot of people, 70% of Filipinos would still rather go to informal areas to borrow money. And I think fintechs from other regions see that. So they see that there is a big market share to change that. And additionally, for payments as well, there are about 20,000 remittance centers in the Philippines. Wow, and that's a large number. That's even more than the number of banks or bank accounts or bank branches that you see all over the country. So because of those two things, I think more and more fintechs of those particular categories will continue coming in the Philippines.
Edison, there's a special project and a special advocacy that we're taking on in FinTech Philippines Association, which is the forging of a closer relationship between the Philippines and China, okay? I know, many of you are feeling very raw about the West Philippine Seas, but we have a very different take on it when it comes to technology and payments. I think there's so much that we can learn from each other, and last time when we were in Beijing, the Chinese fintechs were really excited, along with Indonesia. The Philippines is really a prime market for them. Would you like to share with our friends here in Seamless the great things happening at the end of the month and how they can take part in us forging closer ties between the Philippines and China?
Before this gets into a political situation or too diplomatic about it, but we tried what we have done, like what me and Amor, we went to Beijing. That was last August, and we had a very good exchange with the local FinTech Association, in particular with the Beijing Internet Finance Association.
That's how they call fintechs there, internet finance, right? And 30% of all fintechs of China are members of the Beijing Internet Finance Association.
Yes, and the members are companies with 1,000 employees and above. So the scale of Chinese fintech companies are really on a different level, and a lot of them are, what they're looking at is to expand outside of China. Of course, we do see that in not only fintech but also in other areas like real estate and investments and what. So I think the trend is there. It's really more of how we are receptive and how we deal with them.
Would you like to share what's happening at the end of the month?
And at the end of the month, what we are, so since we went there, and we also invited the Chinese FinTech Association to come and bring their delegates, their FinTech company delegation to Philippines, so that we can have a more collaboration and exchange. And that will be on the 24th, 25th, 26th of October, where these companies will get the chance to visit and collaborate with local fintech companies, regulatory bodies, and also visit finance institutions like Union Bank.
So if you would like to learn more about how to take advantage of this emerging bilateral technology relationship between China and the Philippines, please join us. That's October 24, 25, and 26. We have an entire reciprocal roadshow that's happening, and then conversely, we're looking at bringing other fintechs to China as well. Mark?
Think of China as the Google in the US, as Google in the US, as they're the ones most likely to acquire or invest in.
Exactly. I actually don't understand all the prevailing xenophobia that's happening. So us here in the technology space, we have a very different approach to China.
Exactly. We without getting too political about things, the general approach is that we fear what we don't understand, right? So I think the more understanding we have with these with them, the more collaboration and the potential synergies that we can have with Chinese companies, and thus take away the fear factor.
Kathleen, I think Paul, some people might have questions from the floor.
We've got a question.
MJ, I
You're
think
all
you
very
might have a
shy.
question.
All the Filipinos are very shy. Where am I? One
Yes,
here.
please. Could you please identify yourself, sir, and the organization you represent?
Actually, I'm Chris Castillo from Bitcoin industry. I'm doing Bitcoin for over 3 years now, and it really changed my life. But my question is to Union Bank, because for now, we cannot buy Bitcoins without any Union Bank account. So is there any possibility in the future that we can buy Bitcoins without any Union Bank account? like what is happening in Taiwan and in Singapore?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say in FinTech, anything is possible, right? So although right now buying Bitcoins is done through a Union Bank account, and even if the BSPs actually open up new regulations in terms of virtual currency exchanges, we are just waiting for the other banks as well. So right, in terms of like money, we need to be able to change and transfer it among ourselves, and we're waiting for that time to come. So yes, it is a possibility.
In terms of when you say buying or selling Bitcoins, you know, I do all my deals, private deals in Bitcoin with Union Bank. Only you have to go to Union Bank, give the cash or Union Bank. So
Guys, it takes an entire ecosystem and multiple players to take part and make sure that it's open. That's actually our biggest challenge here in the industry, because most people, we even have big players who are not opening up their APIs. Can you believe that? Unthinkable, right? There is no such thing as competition in this day and age. It's all about co-opetition, right? And yet we have all these big players, and yes, it's a call to some of those big players out there. Open up your APIs so all the fintechs, big and small alike, can start working with you. The way, say, for example, Union Bank did. They opened up your API.
So for anyone with banks not Union Bank, pressure your bank to create some APIs, allow them to be more
or just
open.
pressure Union Bank. Go to Union Bank or pressure your bank to actually open up to others and work with others, right? Questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chris. Yes, there is another question. Yes, please.
Good morning. I'm Rod Salvador with Smart. This one's for
Hi, Ron.
this one's for Mark. You were mentioning about the interoperability of e-wallets, say on transfer from one to another. Is what you're planning? Will it be built on top of InstaPay, or will you be building your own consortium for settlement and clearing?
I think it should be more open than that. The technology to do it is already there. Using Stellar blockchain, for example, it's an open blockchain that IBM is part of. They've already had 43 currencies created on the platform. So the technology is really easy to do. It's just that we've got to get people to adopt it. Everyone wants to say mine, I don't want to share. So the problem is trying to get everyone to work together, and that's part of the view of the FinTech Association to try and make that happen. So yeah, I'd use Stellar. I wouldn't build a consortium. I wouldn't use InstaPay. InstaPay is 10 pesos. I should be able to move money free or very, very, very small amounts. Stellar blockchain allows you to do 1 million transactions for $1. So very tiny amounts of money involved. And I can absorb that. I don't have it. So it's just free to the customer. So I want to see that happen using open technologies already. APIs also help, but I think using blockchain for the purposes suited for is better.
Thanks, Ron. Yes.
Kalaya from USSC. We're seeing more traction of people using FinTech, especially in metro areas, right? What are your different thoughts of making FinTech more available for the unbanked and for the wider population of the Philippines?
Yes. I think it would be good for Jewel to answer.
Yeah. So I've been to the countryside, so the challenge has always been connectivity. That's one. But government is addressing that by rolling out the national broadband network, and then the last mile connections using through policy initiatives such as the common power policies. However, there are already pilots in certain areas where we can access the internet through low-cost, low-bandwidth solutions. I think that's by using those kinds of low-bandwidth solutions, the populace in the countryside should be able to leverage on FinTech for financial services. So, in a nutshell, connectivity is important. Another one is the proper regulations are in place to support the expansion of last mile solutions. And third is for entrepreneurs to actually create products and services that are targeted for the rural countryside?
One of the things that I'm championing is pushing out technology to sari-sari stores. We've got 1 million sari-sari stores, and they are the bank tellers of the future. For now, they can educate the small amount of people around them to use apps and so on. So, yeah.
But definitely, our advocacy here primarily is mass adoption, right? You don't even have to be super high-tech, but look, our chairman for the transport committee is Angkas. And in terms of traction, it actually has one of the best downloads in the country, given the fact that it's still primarily in Metro Manila. You wanted to add something, Erica?
Okay, so in terms of my thoughts for mass adoption here in the Philippines for fintechs, I think the main issue here also is being open-minded, right, in terms of the unbanked. So a lot of them, we see that they have a general distrust for banks, and we're hoping that this would change because we're also inputting fintech synergies in the banks itself. So I think it's part of the FinTech Association's goal to ensure that more and more people in the Philippines, especially with a large number of unbanked population, start to feel open about using it. So that's my main thought.
Absolutely. So it's all about education.
Sorry, may I just add on the mass adoption and that note? The regulators, in fact, with the national ID, previously you need a couple of IDs to open an account, but now you only need one. And the national ID is going to be taking place, and in fact, with the national ID law, there's a possibility that eventually, and not now, even if you don't have birth certificate, but they can distinguish you, that's biometrics, it's actually already within the law. So eventually, it's heading down. Getting back to the sari-sari store, it's going to be like a 7-Eleven type, where the sari-sari stores, eventually you can just zap, buy your items, or even withdraw the sari-sari stores. I understand Go Negosyo this afternoon will be taking that up as well.
So, yes, sir, please follow through, and then I think we'll
We've
close
got
off.
to wrap it up
We'll
more.
close
This
off.
is literally 30 seconds left.
One of the challenges for the unbanked Filipino is that they're very cash dependent, right? So all of those ideas do make sense, but how do you then make them less dependent on the physical cash?
You give them reason to use the digital cash. So you create apps with the banking embedded where they use it in their daily life.
Please join the association and let's have that more in-depth discussion. I think you're going to add value. I'm sorry, do you have time to? There's
No,
a
we're
nine-
already
I'm sorry,
nearly 10
Hannah,
minutes over more, I'm sorry.
But on that note, we would like to invite you this coming Monday, 30th of September, for the Ultimate Banking and FinTech panel. That's happening in Sofitel. Now, how many of you know what is the largest bank in the world? Can you tell me? Who can tell me what is the largest bank in the world? ICBC. If you'd like to meet the largest bank in the world and also at the same time meet some of the most pioneering banks here in the country and how they can work closely with FinTech, please join us 6 p.m. 30 September, this coming Monday. And see you all in the FinTech Philippines Association. Thank you, Seamless,
Thank
for
you
the
very much.
opportunity.
Thank you, Amor, and thank you to our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause.